Kang Min-ho has ended 17 lives with calculated precision. So when he walks into his penthouse suite and finds his new housekeeper's 15-year-old daughter standing in his study, holding his loaded Glock 19 with the safety off, his first instinct isn't fear. It's cold assessment of how many seconds he has before she accidentally pulls the trigger. Then Maya Harris speaks.
Put your hands where I can see them and step back slowly.
Her voice carries the flat, authoritative tone of someone who's watched too many police procedurals.
I'm calling the cops about the guns, the cash, and whatever illegal operation you're running out of this apartment.
The shock of it stops him cold. Not because she's dangerous, she's holding the gun wrong, elbow locked, stance too wide, but because it's been 8 years since anyone looked at him with anything other than terror or calculated deference. This 15-year-old American girl with box braids and a Brooklyn Nets hoodie just threatened to call the police on one of Seoul's most powerful crime lords. And she's not backing down. Welcome to AfroKorean Stories. If you're new here, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and tell us where you're watching from so we can shout out to you in our next video. Today's story is about courage, survival, and what happens when a Detroit-raised teenager refuses to be intimidated by Korean mafia power. Let's continue. Maya, her mother's voice cracks like a whip from the hallway. Put that down right now. The girl's eyes flick toward the sound just for a microsecond. Min-ho could disarm her in that moment. Should disarm her. Instead, he finds himself watching something unprecedented unfold. Maya doesn't lower the gun.
Mom, this man has 4 handguns in his desk drawer, $30,000 in cash under his floorboards, and a burner phone that's been receiving coded messages every hour. He's either a drug dealer or something worse. And I'm not letting you work for someone like this.
The conviction in her voice, absolute, unshakable, reminds Min-ho of something he'd forgotten existed. Innocence armed with courage. The dangerous combination of someone who still believes the law protects people. Jasmine Harris appears in the doorway, her deep brown skin gone ashen with horror. At 37, she's beautiful in the way that comes from surviving hard years with grace intact. Her standard uniform, white blouse, black slacks, so hair pulled back in a neat bun, is rolled up at the sleeves, revealing forearms marked with old scars Min-ho recognizes immediately. Burn scars, the kind you get from cigarettes deliberately applied. Maya? Jasmine's voice drops to something Min-ho hasn't heard from her in the 3 weeks she's worked for him. Pure maternal authority, the kind that crosses oceans and cultures. That man is my employer. Put the gun down.
He's a criminal, Mom.
Maya's hand doesn't waver, but Min-ho sees the confusion bleeding into her eyes. The first crack in her certainty. You said we left Detroit to get away from people like this. You said Korea would be different, safer. But this is the same thing, just with a different accent. Detroit? The word settled into Min-ho's mind like a puzzle piece clicking into place. He'd wondered about Jasmine Harris when his head of security, Do-yeon, ran her background check. American citizen, naturalized from Jamaica at age 12. Grew up in Detroit's east side, specifically the area around Gratiot Avenue and Harper. Single mother, no criminal record, nursing degree from Wayne State University that she never finished. Immigrated to South Korea 8 months ago on a work visa, sponsored by an international domestic placement agency. The file had been clean. Too clean. The kind of clean that comes from someone deliberately erasing their tracks, covering their history with the practiced efficiency of a survivor. But Detroit explained certain things. Explained the way Jasmine moved through his penthouse like she was memorizing exit routes. Explained why she never asked questions when she found blood on his shirts or when he came home at 4 a.m. with split knuckles. Explained the old defensive wounds on her arms and the way she flinched when Do-yeon raised his voice near her. Detroit's east side, particularly around Gratiot and Harper, was territory Min-ho knew by reputation. Not gang territory, war zone. The kind of place where you learn to recognize the sound of different caliber gunfire by age 10. Where domestic violence calls went unanswered because the police had written off entire neighborhoods. Where women like Jasmine either got hard or got dead. And she'd survived it. Survived it long enough to get her daughter out. Maya, born and raised in that environment, would have learned different rules than Korean children, would have been taught to speak up, fight back, never show weakness, would have absorbed the Detroit defiance that came from watching authority fail to protect anyone. The streets around Grayshit and Harper didn't raise quiet, submissive children. They raised fighters. They raised survivors who understood that respect had to be demanded, not requested. That power unchecked destroyed everything. Minho sees it in the way she stands, weight forward, ready to advance and not retreat. In the way her jaw sets when her mother tells her to back down. This isn't a child who's been taught to submit to power. This is a child who's been taught that power unchecked destroys everything. Maya Harris. Minho speaks for the first time, keeping his voice level, non-threatening. His English is perfect, cultivated through years of international business deals. Do you know how to use that weapon? Point and shoot. Her finger tightens fractionally on the trigger. Not complicated. The safety is already off. If you pull that trigger with your current stance, the recoil will break your wrist and possibly your nose when the gun jerks back. You'll fire wild, likely hitting your mother who's standing directly in your firing line. And even if you compensate and manage to shoot me, you'll kill me. Is that what you want? To become a murderer at 15? Maya's eyes widen slightly. Her gaze darts to her mother, realizing for the first time that Jasmine is indeed directly behind where Minho stands. Step to the left, Mom, Maya says, voice cracking just slightly. No. Jasmine doesn't move. Baby, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Mr. Kang is not going to hurt us. Put the gun down, and we'll talk about this. How do you know he won't hurt us? Maya's voice rises, 15 years of accumulated fear bleeding through the bravado. Mom, I've seen the news. I know what Korean organized crime looks like. The Yakuza, the Triads, the Seoul gangs, they're just like the people we left behind. They hurt people, Mom. They destroy families. And you're cleaning this man's house like we need him, like we owe him something. We do need him. Jasmine's admission is quiet, devastating. Maya, we need this job. We need the money, the housing, the visa sponsorship. Without this, we go back to Detroit, back to your father. The name hangs in the air like poison gas. Minho sees Maya's hand tremble, sees the weapon dip slightly as the weight of that reality settles on her shoulders. He found us again? The question comes out small, childlike, all the Detroit defiance draining away into something more primal. Fear. 3 weeks ago, called my sister's phone in Jamaica, asked if she knew where we went. He's been looking, baby. He's been looking for 2 years, and he's getting close. Jasmine's voice cracks. This job, this country, this man's protection, it's the only thing keeping us off his radar. Minho watches the calculation happen in Maya's eyes, watches her reassess him from immediate threat to potential shield. It's the same calculation he's seen in 100 different contexts, the moment when someone realizes the devil they know might be preferable to the devil hunting them. Slowly, carefully, Maya lowers the gun. Her hands are shaking now, adrenaline crash-hitting hard. Minho moves with deliberate slowness, closing the distance between them. He takes the Glock from her unresisting fingers, engages the safety, and sets it on his desk. Then he does something that surprises even himself. He pulls out his desk chair and gestures for Maya to sit. Miss Harris, he says quietly, I think it's time we had an honest conversation about what kind of protection your mother actually needs. Maya sits in the leather chair, looking smaller than her 5'7" frame, looking exactly like what she is. A terrified child trying to protect her mother with nothing but borrowed courage and a weapon she doesn't know how to use. Jasmine hovers in the doorway, torn between maternal instinct to shield her daughter and the complex web of desperation that brought them to this penthouse in the first place. Minho leans against his desk, arms crossed, so studying them both with the clinical assessment that's kept him alive in a business where mistakes are terminal. Your daughter is correct about several things. He begins, addressing Jasmine but watching Maya. I am a criminal. The Kang family runs one of the 5 major organized crime syndicates in Seoul. We control shipping ports, construction contracts, political influence, and yes, Occasionally, violence is necessary to maintain our territory. Maya's eyes go wide. Jasmine closes hers briefly as if saying a prayer. However, Minho continues, your daughter is also incorrect about several important details. I am not a drug dealer. The Kang family does not traffic in narcotics, human trafficking, or exploitation of the vulnerable. We run a protection racket, yes. We engage in tax evasion and political corruption, certainly. But we have rules, lines we don't cross. That's supposed to make this better? Maya's voice is sharp, cutting. You're a criminal with standards? Cool, still illegal, still wrong. The boldness of it, speaking to him like he's a misbehaving teacher instead of a man who could make her disappear, strikes Minho as either incredibly brave or suicidally stupid. Probably both. Maya, Jasmine's voice carries a warning. Watch your mouth. Why? Why should I? Maya stands up and Minho sees where the courage comes from. Not just Detroit, something deeper. Mom, you taught me to speak up. You taught me that silence is how bad men win. You taught me that in Detroit, in Jamaica before that, everywhere we've been. Don't tell me to be quiet now just because he's rich and powerful. Your mother taught you well. Minho's voice cuts through the rising tension. But she also taught you survival, didn't she? She taught you that sometimes speaking up gets you killed. That's why you left Detroit. That's why you came here. Because your father, he pauses, watching Jasmine's face, is Marcus Harris, former enforcer for the Detroit chapter of the Black Mafia family, currently serving 20 years in federal prison for racketeering and attempted murder. Jasmine's sharp intake of breath confirms it. How did you, she starts. I run a criminal organization, Mrs. Harris. I don't hire anyone without knowing everything about them. Minho's tone is matter-of-fact, not cruel. I know Marcus Harris was released early for good behavior 6 months ago. I know he violated his parole terms immediately and went underground. I know he's been systematically tracking you through your family connections, through social media, through every digital footprint you've tried to erase. Maya's face has gone pale. You knew this whole time? You knew Mom was running from my father and you just, what? Let her work for you anyway? I let her work for me because of it. Minho moves to the window overlooking Seoul's glittering skyline. Your mother needed to disappear. Korea provided that opportunity. My employment provided the legal framework, work visa, housing, legitimate income, and my reputation provided something more valuable than any of that. What? Maya's voice is barely a whisper. A shield. Minho turns back to face them. Marcus Harris is a violent criminal with connections throughout the American underground, but he has no connections here, no power, no reach. And if he somehow traces you to Korea, if he somehow finds out you work for me, he'll think very carefully before acting, because attacking my employee is attacking me, and I have resources he cannot comprehend. The silence that follows is heavy with calculation. Minho can see both women processing, weighing, trying to determine if he's offering genuine protection or simply articulating a different kind of trap. Why? Jasmine finally asks. Why would you protect us? You don't know us. You don't owe us anything. Your daughter held a gun on me in my own home. Minho allows himself a slight smile, and instead of begging for her life, she threatened to call the police. Do you understand how rare that is? How unprecedented? He looks at Maya. Most people in this country, when confronted with my reputation, become either obsequiously polite or paralyzed with fear. You became righteously angry. You challenged authority. You genuinely believed, that the law would protect you over me. Shouldn't it? Maya's voice is challenging, but Minho hears the uncertainty underneath. In theory, yes. In practice? He shakes his head. I own 3 judges, 5 prosecutors, and half the police force in this district. If I wanted you gone, no law would save you. But I don't want you gone. I want exactly what I have right now. Which is? Jasmine asks carefully. An employee who cleans my home efficiently, asks no questions, and minds her own business. And now, apparently, a 15-year-old American girl who's bold enough to threaten me with my own weapon. Minho's expression becomes serious. Maya, your mother works for me. That makes you part of my household, even peripherally. In Korean culture, that carries certain obligations. I am responsible for your welfare, and I take my responsibilities seriously. So we're just supposed to trust you? Maya's skepticism is clear. Trust that you'll protect us from my father? Trust that you won't use us? Trust that this whole thing isn't just another version of the same trap Mom's been running from her whole life? The question is devastatingly perceptive. Minho finds himself respecting this child more with every word she speaks. No, he says simply, you're not supposed to trust me. Trust is earned. What you're supposed to do is make a calculated decision about which threat is more immediate. Your father, who's actively hunting you and has a documented history of extreme violence toward your mother, or me, who's offering you protection, legal status, and safety in exchange for your mother's continued employment. You make it sound so reasonable, Maya says bitterly, like we have a real choice. You do have a choice. Minho's voice is harder now. You can leave. I'll give you a severance payment, enough to get you to another country, help you establish new identities. But you'll be on your own, completely unprotected, starting over again in another place where you don't speak the language and have no connections. He lets that sink in before continuing. Or you stay. Your mother continues working for me. You continue your education at the international school I'm paying for, and both of you sleep soundly knowing that if Marcus Harris steps foot in this country, I'll know about it before immigration does, and I'll handle it. Handle it how? Maya asks. Minho meets her eyes directly. However necessary. The implication hangs heavy in the air. Jasmine understands immediately, her face showing resignation more than horror. Maya takes longer, but Minho watches the realization dawn. He's offering to kill her father if necessary. This is insane, Maya whispers. This whole situation is completely insane. Yes, Jasmine agrees quietly. But it's also our reality, baby. This is what survival looks like sometimes. It's not pretty. It's not fair. But it's what we have. Maya looks between her mother and Minho, her expression cycling through anger, fear, resignation, and finally, reluctant acceptance. I have conditions, she says finally. The audacity of it makes Minho laugh, a genuine sound of surprise and amusement. You have conditions? You, who just held my gun on me and threatened to call the police? Yes. Maya lifts her chin. If we're staying, if we're accepting your protection, then I need to know some things. I need to understand what we're actually getting into. Maya, Jasmine starts. No, Mom. No more secrets. No more running blind. Maya's voice is firm. I'm 15, not 5. I deserve to know the truth about the situation we're in. Minho considers this. By all rights, he should be furious. Should reassert his authority through intimidation or force. Should remind this child that she's in no position to make demands. Instead, he finds himself intrigued. Very well, he says. Ask your questions. First, are you going to hurt my mother, ever, for any reason? No. Your mother is an employee, not a possession. As long as she fulfills her duties, she's under my protection, not my threat. Second, are you going to make her do anything illegal? Her job is housekeeping, that's all. What I do in my business is separate from what happens in this home. Third, if my father finds us, what exactly will you do? Minho doesn't hesitate. I will neutralize the threat. Permanently, if necessary. But I'll try nonviolent solutions first. Financial incentive to leave you alone. Legal intervention through connections. Relocation assistance to get him away from Korea. Violence is always the last resort. But it is an option I won't take off the table. Maya processes this, and Minho sees her Detroit survival instincts warring with whatever remains of her childhood innocence. Last question, she says. Why are you being so honest about all of this? Why not just lie? Tell us what we want to hear. Because your mother has already been lied to by enough men. Minho's voice is flat, factual. Because Marcus Harris probably told her he loved her right before the first time he put his hands on her. Because every man who's hurt her has done so with pretty words and false promises. I won't insult either of you that way. This is a transaction. I provide protection and resources. Your mother provides a reliable domestic service. And you... He looks at Maya directly. You remind me that not everyone in this world has learned to be afraid yet. The honesty lands. Minho sees it in the way Maya's shoulders relax fractionally, in the way Jasmine's hand comes up to cover her mouth, blinking back tears. Okay, Maya says finally. Okay, we'll stay. But I'm watching you. Any sign that you're going to hurt my mother, any sign at all, and I don't care how powerful you are. I'll find a way to stop you. I would expect nothing less. Minho extends his hand. Do we have an agreement, Miss Harris? Maya looks at his hand for a long moment. Then she reaches out and shakes it, her grip firm despite the tremor he can feel running through her. We have an agreement, she says, but I'm still calling you a criminal. That's fair, Minho agrees. Yeah, because I am one. If you're enjoying this story of courage meeting power, hit that like button right now and drop a comment telling us, would you have the bravery Maya showed, or would fear have won? Your comments fuel our next story, so let us know what you think. The next morning, Minho wakes to the smell of coffee and the sound of angry American hip-hop coming from his kitchen. He pulls on a robe and follows the noise, finding Maya sitting at his breakfast bar with a laptop, headphones in, completely absorbed in whatever she's working on. She doesn't notice him at first, so he has a moment to observe. She's changed out of yesterday's hoodie into a simple t-shirt and jeans, her box braids pulled back in a high ponytail, her fingers fly across the keyboard with practiced speed, and he can see reflected in her glasses the glow of what looks like a school assignment. When she finally glances up and sees him, she pulls out one earbud but doesn't look particularly apologetic about commandeering his kitchen. Mom's doing laundry, she says by way of explanation. I needed to finish an essay for English class. Your Wi-Fi is better than the connection in our quarters. What's the essay about? Minho asks, moving to pour himself coffee. Ethical responsibility of bystanders in situations of injustice. Maya's tone is pointed, specifically examining the question of whether passive observation of criminal activity makes you complicit in the crime. Minho allows himself a slight smile. Subtle. I don't do subtle. Detroit didn't teach subtle. She closes her laptop. Look, I know yesterday was intense. And I know I probably should have been more scared than I was, but I need you to understand something about where I come from. I'm listening. Maya takes a breath, organizing her thoughts with visible effort. I grew up on Detroit's east side, the part that tourists don't see, that the news only covers when somebody dies. Specifically around Gratiot and Harper. You know that area? Minho nods. He's done his research. Those streets don't raise soft people, Maya continues. My mom worked 2 jobs, nursing assistant during the day, bartender at night, trying to save enough to get us out. We lived in a neighborhood where gunshots were the background noise you fell asleep to, where you learned to recognize different calibers by sound before you learned your multiplication tables. She pauses, her fingers tracing patterns on the laptop's closed lid. The women in my neighborhood, black women mostly, they had this way of moving through the world. Heads up, eyes alert, always calculating exit routes, always ready to run or fight. My mom was like that. Still is, if you watch her carefully. She moves through your penthouse the same way she moved through Detroit, like she's mapping escape routes, memorizing where the weapons are, always ready for violence to erupt. Minho sips his coffee, letting her talk. But Detroit also taught me something else. It taught me that silence is how girls disappear, that speaking up, even when it's dangerous, is sometimes the only way to survive. Because the girls who stayed quiet, who didn't make noise when men hurt them, who didn't fight back, those girls ended up dead or broken or both. Maya's eyes meet his, and there's steel in them despite her age. So when I saw those guns in your desk, when I realized what you were, My Detroit instincts kicked in. Speak up, make noise, don't let powerful men operate in silence, because silence is how they win. Even when speaking up could get you killed? Minho asked quietly. Especially then. Maya's voice is firm. My mom stayed silent with my father for years. Stayed silent when he hit her, when he threatened her, when he controlled every aspect of her life. And that silence almost destroyed her. Almost destroyed both of us. I swore I'd never be silent like that. Never let fear win that way. Minho studies this fierce, damaged, impossibly brave child. Your father, he says carefully. Tell me about him. Maya's jaw tightens, but she doesn't look away. Marcus Harris was a big deal in his world, she begins. Enforcer for one of the drug operations running out of Detroit. The Black Mafia family. You probably know them by reputation. Minho nods. He knows them well. International drug trafficking organization with roots in Detroit, connections throughout the United States and beyond. Violent, organized, ruthless. My father was one of their street-level enforcers. Not high up in the organization, but respected. Feared. He had money, power, respect on the streets, where respect meant everything. Maya's voice goes flat, factual, and he had a temper that could turn deadly in seconds. How old were you when it started? Minho asks. 6, old enough to remember everything? Maya's hands clench into fists. I watched him break her arm once because dinner was cold. Watched him put a gun to her head during an argument about her wanting to go back to school. Watched him lock her in the bedroom for 3 days because she talked to a male coworker. The words come out clinical, detached, the way trauma survivors often speak about their worst memories, creating distance through emotional removal. The worst part wasn't even the violence, Maya continues. It was the helplessness. Being 6, 7, 8 years old and not being able to protect my mother. Having to hide in closets while he hurt her. Hearing her cry and knowing there was nothing I could do. That helplessness. That was worse than everything else. Minho sets down his coffee cup. The police? The police in our neighborhood didn't care about domestic violence calls from Black women. Maya's laugh is bitter. They'd show up hours late, if at all, and when they did come, they talked to my father like he was a reasonable person having a bad day. Never arrested him, never protected us, just left us there with him, even angrier than before. So you learned not to trust authority, Minho states. I learned that authority doesn't protect people like us, that the law works differently depending on your zip code and skin color, that if you want to survive, you have to protect yourself. Maya's eyes are hard. That's why yesterday when I found your guns, my first instinct was to take control of the situation myself, because waiting for someone else to protect you, that's how you die. The profound cynicism in her voice, the bone-deep distrust of systems and authority, resonates with Minho's own worldview in uncomfortable ways. When did your mother finally leave? He asks. I was 13. Marcus got arrested on federal charges, racketeering, conspiracy, attempted murder of a rival dealer. Big operation, lots of evidence. They said he'd be in prison for 20 years minimum. Maya's voice lightened slightly. So, Mom took her chance. She'd been saving money secretly for years, hiding it from him. The day after his conviction, she called her sister in Jamaica for help, and we ran. Where did you go? First to New York, stayed with some distant cousins in Brooklyn for a few months. That's where I got the Nets hoodie. A ghost of a smile crosses her face. Brooklyn was different from Detroit. Still tough, still dangerous in places, but different. The people there had this attitude, this refusal to back down, to let anyone push them around. I learned from that. Minho can see it. Brooklyn's influence layered over Detroit's foundation, creating this unique combination of street toughness and urban defiance. After New York, we went to Toronto for 6 months. Mom worked under the table, cleaning houses, taking any job that paid cash. We lived in a tiny apartment in Scarborough, barely scraping by, but we were free. For the first time in my life, we were actually free. And then to Jamaica? Minho prompts. Then to Jamaica. Mom's family is from Kingston, the part of Kingston that tourists definitely don't see. We stayed with my aunt for 4 months, and I thought maybe we could build a life there. The violence was different than Detroit, more random, less organized, but the poverty was familiar. And my aunt's community, the women especially, they had this strength, this refusal to let circumstances break them. Maya's voice carries genuine warmth when she talks about Jamaica, and Minho recognizes it as the only place she's mentioned that held any real safety for her. But then Marcus got out early. Good behavior, can you believe that? The man who terrorized us for years learned to play nice with prison guards and got his sentence reduced. And the second he was free, he started looking. How did you find out? My aunt called Mom, panicking. Marcus had shown up at her house in Kingston asking questions. Where's Jasmine? Where's my daughter? When are they coming back? He didn't threaten her directly. He's too smart for that, but the implication was clear. Tell me where they are, or there will be problems. Maya's hands are shaking now, the clinical detachment cracking under the weight of remembered fear. That's when Mom decided we needed to leave Jamaica, needed to go somewhere Marcus would never think to look, somewhere his connections couldn't reach. She'd been researching, and Korea came up. International work visa program, need for English-speaking domestic workers, relatively safe society. So we applied, got approved, and came here. 8 months ago, Minho says. 8 months ago, Maya confirms. And for 8 months, we thought we were safe. Thought we'd finally escaped. Then 3 weeks ago, Mom got a call from her sister. Marcus had contacted her through Facebook, asking if she knew where we'd gone. He's systematic, methodical. He's working through every family connection, every friend, every possibility. He's obsessed, Minho observes. He's possessive, Maya corrects. To Marcus, we're not people. We're property that escaped. And getting us back is about reasserting his control, proving that nobody leaves him without consequences. It's not love, it's ownership. The distinction is important, and Minho respects her for understanding it. And you think I'm different from him, he says. Maya considers this carefully. I think you're honest about what you are. You don't pretend to be a good man. You don't hide your violence behind claims of love or protection. You're a criminal and you own it. Like, that's different from someone who hurts people while claiming it's for their own good. You're giving me too much credit. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just trying to survive in a world where all the powerful men are dangerous. At least with you, I know where I stand. Maya reopens her laptop. Now, if you don't mind, I have to finish explaining why passive observation of criminal activity is morally equivalent to participation. Should be fun, given my current living situation. Minho laughs despite himself. This girl, this sharp-tongued, fearless, impossibly bold child, is unlike anyone he's encountered in his carefully controlled world. Maya, he says as he stands to leave, your mother is lucky to have you. No, Maya says without looking up. She's cursed to have me. I'm the reason my father is so obsessed with finding us. If Mom had left me behind, run alone, she'd be safe by now. You believe that? I know that. Marcus Harris doesn't care about Mom except his property he lost. But me, I'm his daughter, his legacy. He wants me back because I belong to him. At least that's what he thinks. Minho pauses in the doorway. And what do you think? Maya finally looks up and her eyes are hard, carrying a weight no 15-year-old should bear. I think that if my father ever finds us, one of us is going to die, and I'm going to make damn sure it isn't me or my mother. The certainty in her voice, the absolute conviction, reminds Minho of himself at a young age, before the business softened him, before he learned to calculate instead of feeling. This girl has that same killer instinct, that same willingness to do whatever survival requires. Good, he says simply. Keep that fire. It might save your life one day. 3 weeks pass in uneasy equilibrium. Jasmine continues her work with quiet efficiency, and Maya splits her time between the international school and the penthouse, treating Minho's space like a combination study hall and philosophical battlefield. She argues with him constantly, about ethics, about power, about the moral compromises inherent in his business. She's read extensively philosophy, political theory, criminal justice reform, and she wields her knowledge like the weapon she's not yet old enough to legally carry. Kant would say you're using people as means to an end, she announces one evening, sprawled on his couch with a philosophy textbook, that your entire business model violates the categorical imperative. Kant never had to run a criminal enterprise, Minho replies, not looking up from his laptop. Philosophy is clean, reality is messy. That's a cop-out. You're smart enough to understand the ethical implications of your choices. You just choose to ignore them. And you're naive enough to think ethics matter in a world where power is the only currency that counts. So might makes right? That's your philosophy? That's reality, Maya. I didn't create the system. I just learned to operate within it. These conversations happen regularly, and Minho finds himself looking forward to them. Maya challenges him in ways his subordinates never would, never could. She's unafraid, unimpressed by his reputation, willing to call him out on inconsistencies and moral failings. It's refreshing, also occasionally infuriating. Do Yun, his head of security, pulls him aside one day with concern evident on his face. Sir, with respect, the girl is becoming too comfortable. She walks around like she owns the place. She questions your decisions openly. The staff is starting to notice. Let them notice, Minho says. But sir, it undermines your authority. If a 15-year-old American girl can challenge you without consequence, then perhaps my authority is secure enough to withstand challenge. Minho's tone leaves no room for argument. Maya Harris is not a threat. She's a child under my protection. Her boldness is not disrespect. It's survival instinct from a very different world. I value it. Do-Yun looks unconvinced but knows better than to push further. The truth is, Minho has grown protective of both Jasmine and Maya in ways that surprise him. Jasmine because she reminds him of his own mother, a woman who survived impossible circumstances with grace and strength. Maya because she represents something he thought extinct in his world, genuine courage untempered by fear or self-interest. Then the situation changes. Minho receives a call from his intelligence network. Marcus Harris has been spotted in Tokyo, asking questions about Korean work visa databases. He's getting close, systematically working through immigration records, following paper trails. It's only a matter of time before he traces Jasmine to Seoul, to this penthouse, to Minho. The question becomes what to do about it. Minho calls a meeting in his study. Jasmine and Maya both attend, though Maya clearly doesn't want her mother in the room for whatever's about to be discussed. Your father's in Tokyo, Minho says without preamble. He's accessing immigration databases through a contact in the Japanese Yakuza. He'll have your location within 2 weeks, possibly sooner. Jasmine's face drains of color. Maya's hand immediately goes to her mother's, 8 fingers interlacing in a gesture of protection and solidarity. What are our options? Maya asks, her voice steady despite the fear Minho can see in her eyes. 3 options, Minho says. 1. I relocate you again. New country, new identities, new start. You'd be safe, but you'd be running forever. Marcus Harris has proven he won't stop. What's option 2? Jasmine asks quietly. I have him killed. Clean, professional, untraceable. He disappears, and you're free. Maya's sharp intake of breath is audible. You're talking about murder. I'm talking about permanent solution to a permanent problem. Minho corrects. Your father is a violent criminal with an obsessive fixation. He won't stop hunting you. Ever. Killing him removes the threat permanently. That's not justice, Maya says, but her voice wavers. No, Minho agrees. It's survival. Justice is a luxury for people who aren't being hunted. And option 3? Jasmine's voice is barely a whisper. You face him. Here, on my territory, under my protection, I arrange a meeting, controlled environment, my people surrounding the location. You confront Marcus Harris, tell him it's over, and I make it clear that any attempt to harm you will result in his immediate death. It's risky, but it gives you closure. gives you the power to end this on your terms. The silence that follows is heavy with impossible choices. I want option 3, Maya says suddenly. No. Jasmine's response is immediate. Absolutely not. You're not going anywhere near your father. Mom, we've been running for 2 years. 2 years of looking over our shoulders, changing countries, being scared every time someone looks at us too long. I'm done running. I want to face him. I want to tell him that he doesn't own us, that we're not his property, that we're never coming back. Maya, you don't understand what he's capable of? I watched him break your arm, Mom. I watched him put a gun to your head. I understand exactly what he's capable of, and I'm still not afraid of him anymore. The statement is bold, defiant, and Minho can see it's also not entirely true. Maya is afraid. But she's choosing courage over fear, confrontation over flight. It's the most Detroit thing he's seen her do. Mr. Kang, Jasmine turns to him, desperation evident. Please don't let her do this, please. Minho looks between mother and daughter, sees the terror in Jasmine's eyes, the determination in Maya's. Sees 2 women who've been running for so long, they've forgotten what it feels like to stand still. The decision is yours, he says to Jasmine, but I'll give you my professional opinion. Running again won't solve this. Marcus Harris will keep coming, and killing him without your knowledge or consent takes away your agency, makes you complicit in a murder you didn't authorize. Option 3 gives you power. It's dangerous, yes, but it's also the only path to genuine freedom. What if he tries to hurt us during the meeting? Jasmine asks. Then I kill him immediately. Minho's voice is flat, factual. I'll have 12 armed men in the room, all trained, all loyal. Marcus Harris won't be able to breathe without my permission. If he makes a move toward either of you, he dies. Guaranteed. Maya looks at her mother, and something passes between them. Years of shared trauma, shared survival, shared desperate hope for something better. Mom, Maya says softly, we can't run forever. We have to end this. Jasmine closes her eyes, and Minho sees the moment she surrenders to the inevitable. Okay, she whispers. Okay, we face him. But Maya stays behind me, always. And if anything goes wrong, I handle it, Minho interrupts. That's what I do, Mrs. Harris. I handle problems. Permanently. The meeting is set for a warehouse in Incheon, neutral territory that Minho controls absolutely. Marcus Harris is told his ex-wife wants to negotiate, wants to discuss visitation with their daughter, wants to find a peaceful resolution. It's all lies, of course, but Marcus Harris is arrogant enough to believe them. Minho spends 3 days preparing. 12 security personnel positioned throughout the warehouse, sniper on the roof, escape routes mapped and secured, medical team on standby. He's planned military operations with less precision. Jasmine spends those 3 days oscillating between determined resolve and shaking terror. Maya spends them researching, preparing, writing what she calls her Declaration of Independence from her father. The night before the meeting, Minho finds Maya on the penthouse balcony, staring out at Seoul's glittering lights. You don't have to do this, he says, standing beside her. I can handle Marcus Harris without you being present. I know, Maya says, but I need to do this. I need to see his face when I tell him he has no power over us anymore. I need to watch him realize that we survived him, that we're stronger than he ever was. And if he threatens you, if he says things designed to hurt you, then I'll survive that too. Words can't hurt me anymore. Detroit taught me that. My father taught me that. She looks at him. You know what the worst part was? Not the violence, not the fear. It was the helplessness. Being 6, 7, 8 years old and not being able to protect my mother. Having to hide in closets while he hurt her. That helplessness was worse than anything else. And now you're not helpless, Minho says. Now I'm not helpless, Maya agrees. Now I have you and 12 armed men between my father and us. Now I have power. Not much, but enough. Enough to speak. Enough to stand my ground. That's all I need. Minho looks at this fierce, broken, impossibly brave child and feels something shift in his chest. Something he hasn't felt in years. Pride, maybe, or hope that people like her still exist in a world he's helped make darker. Your father's going to underestimate you, he says. He's going to see a 15-year-old girl and think you're weak, easy to control. You should use that. Maya smiles, and it's not a child's smile. Good. Let him underestimate me. Detroit girls know how to use underestimation as a weapon. The warehouse is cold, concrete floors and metal walls echoing with the sound of footsteps. Minho arrives first with his security team, checking positions, confirming sightlines, ensuring absolute control of the environment. Jasmine and Maya arrive 30 minutes before the scheduled meeting time. Jasmine is shaking despite her attempts to hide it. Maya walks with forced confidence, chin up, shoulders back, projecting a strength she doesn't entirely feel. Minho positions them behind a steel table, himself standing slightly to the side. The optics are deliberate. Two women backed by overwhelming force, ready to negotiate from a position of power. Marcus Harris arrives exactly on time. He's big, 6'3", heavily muscled from prison workouts, moving with the predatory confidence of a man who's never questioned his right to violence. His skin is dark brown, face marked with old scars, eyes cold and calculating. When he sees Jasmine, his expression shifts through surprise, anger, and finally possessive satisfaction. "Baby," he says, voice carrying across the warehouse. "You look good. Korea agrees with you." Jasmine doesn't respond. Her hand finds Maya's under the table, gripping tight enough to hurt. Marcus's gaze shifts to Maya, and something uglier crosses his face. "And my little girl, look at you, all grown up. 15 now. Damn. Time flies." "I'm not your little girl," Maya says clearly. "I stopped being yours the day Mom got the courage to leave." The words land like a slap. Marcus's expression hardens. "Watch your mouth, Maya. I'm still your father." "Biologically," Maya agrees. "But that's where it ends. You don't get to claim me. You don't get to claim either of us." Marcus takes a step forward, and immediately 8 guns rise to firing position. The sound of safeties clicking off is deafening in the enclosed space. He freezes, finally noticing the armed men surrounding him, finally understanding the situation he's walked into. What the hell is this? His voice is dangerous, but Minho hears the first edge of uncertainty. "This is a conversation," Minho says, speaking for the first time. "One you're going to listen to very carefully, Mr. Harris." Marcus turns to him, assessment and dismissal in his eyes. "And who the hell are you? Jasmine's new man?" "I'm Kang Minho. These women work for me, which makes them my responsibility, which means you touching them, threatening them, or attempting to take them from this country will result in consequences you cannot survive." "You threatening me?" Marcus laughs, but it's forced. "Man, you don't know who you're dealing with? I've got connections. I've got people who—" "You have nothing," Minho interrupts. "You're a convicted felon on violated parole, illegally in a foreign country, surrounded by armed men loyal to me. Your connections mean nothing here. Your reputation means nothing. Odd you have no power in this room." The reality of it settles on Marcus's face, and Minho sees the exact moment he realizes he's miscalculated badly. "Marcus." Jasmine speaks for the first time, her voice stronger than Minho expected. "We're not coming back. Not to Detroit, not to you, not to that life. This meeting is to tell you face to face, it's over. Stop looking for us. Stop hunting us. Accept that we're gone. You're my wife," Marcus says. "You took my daughter." "I was never your wife. We never married. And Maya isn't property you can own." Jasmine's voice rises. "I'm done being afraid of you, Marcus. Done letting you control my life from thousands of miles away. You want to know why I ran? Look in the mirror. Look at what you became. I gave you everything. You gave me bruises and terror and nightmares that still wake me up screaming." Jasmine stands, and Minho sees Maya's hand tighten on her mother's, offering silent support. "You broke my arm because dinner was cold. You held a gun to my head because I wanted to go back to school. You locked me in rooms, controlled who I spoke to, monitored every moment of my life. That's not love, Marcus. That's ownership. That's abuse. I was protecting you. From what? From having a life? From being a person instead of your possession? Jasmine's voice cracks with years of suppressed rage. I stayed as long as I did because I was scared. Scared you'd kill me, scared you'd kill my family, scared you'd hurt Maya. But we've been gone 2 years now, and I'm not scared anymore. I'm just done. Marcus's hands clench into fists, and immediately the guns track the movement. He forces himself to relax, but the rage is evident in every line of his body. And what about Maya? His gaze shifts to his daughter. You gonna let her mother poison her against me? I'm your father, baby girl. I love you. You don't know what love is, Maya says, and her voice is Detroit hard, carrying echoes of the streets that raised her. Love doesn't terrorize. Love doesn't control. Love doesn't make people run halfway around the world to escape it. I made mistakes. You made choices, Maya interrupts. Choices to hurt Mom, choices to scare me, choices to be a monster, and now we're making our choice. We choose to never see you again. You can't do that. I have rights. You have nothing. Maya's voice rises. Is that all the fear and anger and trauma of her childhood pouring out in a flood? You lost your rights when you put your hands on my mother the first time. You lost your rights when you made me hide in closets while you screamed and broke things. You lost your rights when you taught me that men with power are dangerous, that love is just another word for control, that the only way to survive is to run. She's standing now, both hands flat on the table, leaning forward. You know what Detroit taught me, Dad? It taught me that men like you only understand force, that you take and take and take until someone stops you. Well, guess what? We're stopping you. Right here, right now. You don't get to hunt us anymore. You don't get to scare us anymore. You don't get to exist in our lives anymore. Maya, Marcus's voice cracks. And for the first time, Minho sees something that might be genuine emotion under the rage. No, no more talking, no more excuses, no more chances. Maya's eyes are blazing. Mom gave you chances, years of chances. She stayed. She tried to make it work. She believed you when you said you'd change, and you never did. You got worse. So we left. And we're not coming back. Not for you. Not for anyone. This man, Marcus gestures at Minho, you think he's better than me? He's a criminal. I know the type. He's using you, both of you. He'll hurt you eventually. Maybe, Maya concedes. But here's the difference. Mr. Kang is honest about what he is. He doesn't pretend to be a good man. He doesn't hide his violence behind claims of love. He's a criminal, and he owns it. You're a criminal who pretends to be a victim, who blames everyone else for your choices, who can't accept that you destroyed your own family. The words hit hard, and Minho sees Marcus flinch. I want to see you, he says, and his voice has shifted to something pleading, desperate. Maybe not right away, but eventually. Supervised visits, phone calls, something. Maya, I'm your father. You can't just cut me out of your life. Watch me, Maya says flatly. Jasmine, please. Marcus turns back to her. Please. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but I can change. I have changed. Prison changed me. I've been going to therapy, anger management, all of it. Give me a chance to prove I'm different. No. Jasmine's voice is final, absolute. I don't care if you've changed. I don't care if you're a completely different person now. The damage is done. The years of trauma, the fear, the pain, that doesn't go away because you decided to get therapy in prison. You don't get redemption at our expense. So that's it? You're just done? After everything we had? We had nothing, Jasmine says. Nothing real, nothing worth saving. And yes, I'm done. Completely, finally done. Sign the papers my lawyer sent. Give up your parental rights. Let us go. That's the only thing I'm asking from you. And if I don't? The threat in Marcus's voice is clear. Minho steps forward. Then you'll have a different kind of problem. One you can't solve with violence or intimidation. One that ends with you disappearing permanently. Marcus looks at him, reading the seriousness in Minho's eyes. You'd kill me? Over them? Without hesitation, Minho says, I protect what's mine, and they're under my protection now. You threaten them. You threaten me. You can't win that fight, Mr. Harris. The standoff stretches. Marcus looks between Jasmine, Maya, and Minho, calculating odds, weighing options, trying to find an angle that gives him back control. He doesn't find one. This isn't over, he finally says. Yes, it is. Maya's voice is certain. Go back to Detroit, Marcus. Build a new life. Find new people to control. But leave us alone. Because if you don't, Mr. Kang will do what needs to be done. And I won't feel bad about it. Not even a little. The coldness in her voice, the absolute lack of remorse or guilt, seems to finally penetrate. Marcus Harris looks at his daughter and sees a stranger. Someone he doesn't know, doesn't recognize, can't control. You're not the little girl I remember, he says quietly. That little girl died the day we left Detroit, Maya replies. This is who I am now, someone who survived you, someone who's stronger than you ever gave me credit for. Marcus looks like he wants to say more, wants to argue, wants to fight. But the guns are still trained on him, Minho's presence is still imposing, and the absolute rejection from both Jasmine and Maya is undeniable. Fine, he says finally. Fine. You want to cut me out? Fine. But don't come crying to me when your life falls apart. Don't expect me to care when you realize you made a mistake. We won't, Jasmine says simply. Get out, Minho orders. My people will escort you to the airport. You have 6 hours to be out of Korea. If you're still in this country after that, I'll consider it a declaration of hostile intent, and I'll respond accordingly. 4 security personnel step forward surrounding Marcus, making it clear the meeting is over. As he's led away, Marcus looks back once. His eyes find Maya's, and she meets his gaze without flinching, without fear, without the desperate need for his approval that used to define their relationship. Then he's gone. The warehouse falls silent except for the sound of Jasmine's ragged breathing. She's shaking now, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. Maya wraps her arms around her mother, and they stand there holding each other while Minho's security team begins clearing the space. It's over, Maya whispers. Mom, it's really over. Is it? Jasmine's voice is muffled against her daughter's shoulder. Will he really leave us alone? He will, Minho says with certainty, because he knows I meant every word, and because seeing you both stand up to him broke something in his control fantasy. Oh, he'll rage for a while, maybe try to save face by claiming he chose to let you go, but he'll stop hunting you. I guarantee it. Maya looks at him over her mother's shoulder. Thank you, she says simply. Don't thank me yet. Your father leaves, but your situation remains complex. You're in Korea illegally on expired visas. Your mother's work permit was conditional. We need to address that. How? Jasmine pulls back from Maya, wiping her eyes. I have connections in immigration. I can arrange permanent residency for both of you. Legitimate status, no more running, no more fear of deportation. But it comes with the same conditions as before. Discretion, loyalty, and your continued service. We can live with that, Maya says before her mother can respond. Right, Mom? Jasmine looks at her daughter, then at Minho, then back at Maya. So something in her expression shifts, resignation transforming into acceptance transforming into something almost like peace. Yes, she says finally, we can live with that. 6 months later, Maya walks into Minho's study without knocking, as has become her habit. She's grown taller, more confident, her English accent picking up occasional Korean phrases. I got accepted, she announces, waving a letter. Seoul International University, full scholarship, pre-law program. Minho looks up from his work, allowing himself a genuine smile. Congratulations, your mother must be proud. She cried for like an hour. Maya flops into the chair across from his desk. Happy tears this time, though. We're getting used to those. And your plans after law school? Prosecutor, maybe, or defense attorney. Haven't decided yet. But I want to work in immigration law, help people like us, people running from violence, trying to build new lives in foreign countries. She pauses. People who need protection from men like my father. Noble, Minho says dryly. Practical, Maya corrects. I know how the system works now. I know where the gaps are, where people fall through, where power gets abused. And I want to fix it. Or at least try. By working within a system you've spent months telling me is fundamentally corrupt? By working within a system I understand is fundamentally flawed, but still offers more protection than no system at all. Maya's gaze is level. You taught me that. Power matters. Institutions matter. Understanding how they work, how to manipulate them, how to use them for good, that matters. I'm not sure I'm comfortable being cited as a moral teacher. You're not moral, Maya agrees easily, but you're practical, and sometimes practicality saves more lives than morality. Minho sets down his pen, giving her his full attention. You've changed since you arrived here. You're less righteously angry. I'm still angry, Maya says, but I've learned to channel it better. Detroit taught me to fight. Seoul taught me to fight smart. And your father? Haven't heard from him since the warehouse. Mom's lawyer said he signed the papers giving up parental rights. Took the money you offered to disappear. Last anyone heard, he was back in Detroit. Maya's voice is carefully neutral. I don't think about him much anymore. It's a lie, and they both know it. Minho can see the shadows that still cross her face sometimes, the nightmares that still wake her up. But he also sees how much lighter she carries that weight now, how survival has transformed from desperate running into intentional building. Thank you, Maya says suddenly, for protecting us, for giving Mom a real job, not just a cover story, for treating me like I had a brain instead of just being a kid you needed to tolerate, for everything. You held a gun on me in my own home, Minho reminds her. I should have had you thrown out immediately. But you didn't, because you saw something in me, in us. Maya leans forward. You saw people worth protecting, even though it complicated your life, even though we brought danger to your door. You chose to help anyway. I chose pragmatically, Minho corrects. Your mother is an excellent employee. You're an interesting conversation partner. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. Keep telling yourself that, Maya says with a knowing smile. But I've watched you for 6 months now. I've seen how you operate. You're not as cold as you pretend to be. You protect people. It's what you do, even when you pretend it's just business. Minho doesn't respond to that, but something in his expression must shift because Maya's smile widens. Anyway, I wanted to tell you about the scholarship in person, and to say that when I become a lawyer, if you ever need legal representation for your business activities, I'm probably going to have to say no. Probably? Definitely. Ethically required to say no. Maya stands. But if you ever need legal help for your protection activities, helping people like us, I'm there. No questions asked. That's a debt I'll always owe. You owe me nothing, Minho says. I owe you everything, Maya counters. You gave us our lives back. Let me say thank you the only way I know how, by paying it forward, by helping other people who need protection from dangerous men. She leaves before he can respond, and Minho sits in the silence of his study, thinking about the angry 15-year-old who held his gun on him 6 months ago, and the determined young woman she's becoming. Detroit taught her to fight. Seoul taught her to fight smart. But Minho likes to think he taught her something too, that power used wisely can be protection, not just destruction. That sometimes the monsters people fear can be the very shields they need. That survival isn't just about running. It's about choosing when to stand your ground and who to stand with. He returns to his work, but he's smiling. Some gambles pay off in unexpected ways. Jasmine finds him later that evening after Mai has gone to bed. She knocks this time, always respectful of boundaries, even after 6 months of working in his home. Mr. Kang, do you have a moment? Of course. He gestures to the chair Maya vacated hours earlier. Jasmine sits with practiced elegance, hands folded in her lap. At 37, she looks younger than when she first arrived, less haunted, more present. The constant fear has faded from her eyes, replaced by something cautiously hopeful. Maya told you about the scholarship? She did. You should be very proud. I am. Jasmine's smile is soft, maternal. She's become so strong, stronger than I was at her age, stronger than I am now. She learned from you, Minho says. Survival, resilience, courage, those came from watching you endure the impossible and keep going. I didn't feel courageous in Detroit. I felt trapped. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's continuing despite it. You did that every day for years. Maya learned by example. Jasmine is quiet for a moment, considering. Can I ask you something personal? You can ask. I may not answer. Why did you really help us? The truth, not the pragmatic business explanation you give Maya. Minho leans back in his chair, studying this woman who's seen too much violence, carried too much weight, survived too much pain. When I was 16, I watched my father beat my mother unconscious because she questioned his business decisions, and I was too weak then to stop him, too scared to intervene. She died 2 years later, officially from an aneurysm, but really from 18 years of systematic brutalization. He pauses. I swore I'd never be my father, that if I had power, I'd use it differently. But you're still in the same business? Jasmine says gently. Still using violence to maintain control? Yes, but I draw different lines. I don't hurt women. I don't terrorize children. I don't confuse power with ownership. Minho's voice is quiet, factual. When you walked into my home, when Maya held that gun on me, I saw echoes of my mother, of who she could have been if someone had protected her, so I chose to be that protection for you. That's not pragmatism, Jasmine says. No, Minho agrees. That's personal. For that's the part of me that still believes some things are worth protecting, even in a world built on violence and exploitation. Jasmine reaches across the desk, and Minho is surprised when she takes his hand. Her touch is gentle, warm, carrying gratitude beyond words. Thank you, she says simply, for seeing us, for protecting us, for giving us a chance at a real life. Thank you for trusting me with that responsibility. Minho replies, for believing I could be different than the other powerful men you've known. They sit like that for a moment, connected by shared understanding of survival's cost and protection's value. Then Jasmine stands, releasing his hand. I should go. Early morning tomorrow, Maya wants to celebrate her acceptance with breakfast at that American diner in Itaewon, so you're welcome to join us if you would like. I might do that, Minho says, surprising himself. After she leaves, he sits alone again, thinking about the strange family he's accidentally built. A woman running from her past. A girl brave enough to challenge monsters. And himself, a monster trying to prove he can be something more. Detroit taught Maya to fight. Seoul taught her to fight smart. But maybe, together, they're all learning something more important, that families aren't always bound by blood. Sometimes they're forged in shared survival, protected by mutual choice, and strengthened by the conscious decision to stand together against whatever darkness comes. Minho pulls out his phone and texts Do-yun. Clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. I have breakfast plans. Some gambles pay off in unexpected ways, and some families are worth protecting no matter what it costs. If you made it this far, you're part of the AfroKorean Stories family. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. And tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? We love shouting out our viewers from around the world.